Millionaire CEO falls for frazzled woman on her first flight. And his life is shocked. Livia stood in the airport, the chaos swirling around her like a dizzying storm. Bright lights blinked above, and the announcements echoed half awake. She felt her heart race in her chest, tightening like a fist. This wasn't just any flight. It was her first, a metal bird that would whisk her 30,000 feet above the world. And right now, she felt like a deer caught in headlights. She clutched her boarding pass as if it were a lifeline. It fluttered like a nervous bird in her hand. The crowd surged past, faces blurring into a mosaic of worry and excitement. A baby screamed nearby, its cries piercing her thin veneer of calm. Livia's hands trembled as she tried to locate her gate. She scanned the signs, her breath getting shorter. What if she missed it? What if the plane took off without her? Panic gripped her like a vice. Why is everyone so calm? She murmured to herself, feeling the swell of anxiety creeping up her throat. She stumbled forward, bumping into people who shot her glances that felt like fire. She was an emotional wreck, surrounded by cool, collected travelers. Just breathe, she whispered, but the breath got caught somewhere in her chest. Finally, she saw it. The gate with her flight number. She burst forward, lungs burning, heart pounding. As she approached the boarding ramp, she noticed the sleek corporate logos adorning the uniforms of the flight attendants. Each one resembled a model, all poise and perfection. Livia felt wildly out of place in her well-worn jeans and comfy sweater. Boarding group 3, she mumbled, glancing down at the pass again. Then she froze. Group 1 and 2 had already melted into the plane. The line was thinning, and her chance slipped away like sand through her fingers. Wait! I'm in Group 3! In her rush, she tripped over her own feet, landing awkwardly against a stranger. Daniel. He wore an air of effortless confidence. His tailored suit seemed to radiate authority, and a kind smile danced on his lips. As she stumbled, fear gripped Livia, and in sheer reflex, she grabbed his arm. Daniel turned, his deep blue eyes catching her. A jolt of electricity arced between them, piercing through the tumult around. Time slowed. Panic faded, replaced by a warmth that made her. She had never been attracted to someone like him. So sure, so charming. Are you all right? He asked, noticing her racing pulse. His voice was smooth as silk. Yes, no, I'm just... She hesitated, caught in the moment, flashes of anxiety mixing with undeniable attraction. How could a man so powerful find interest in a woman lost in chaos? The flight took off, shaking, as if mirroring her inner turmoil. She fidgeted with her hands, both nervous and alive. They exchanged glances, an unspoken connection igniting, but her mind swirled with confusion. Moments later, when they finally hit cruising altitude and the cabin light dimmed, an enveloping silence took over. Just before she heard the buzz of an incoming text from the corporate world. Her life. Her phone vibrated in her pocket, the screen lighting up with her boss's name. Of all the moments to remind her of home. Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And while you're at it, leave a like to help me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. Her phone vibrated in her pocket, the screen lighting up with her boss's name. Of all the moments, just a minute, she whispered, fumbling to pull it out. Daniel watched with an inquisitive gaze as she swiped the screen, her heart beating faster. "Hello?" she answered, trying to sound composed despite her racing pulse. "It's Anna." Her boss's voice came through, sharper than usual. "We have a situation." Livia's stomach sank. "What kind of situation?" "Something urgent I can't explain over the phone." An uncomfortable knot twisted in her chest. "Couldn't it wait? I'm on a flight right now." There was a pause on the line, and Livia felt the weight of the moment. People whispered around her, the world blurring in her periphery. "No, Livia, you need to know this now. It concerns the merger. It's falling apart. And we suspect sabotage. You may need to come back early." Cold dread washed over her. The impending chaos of her work life clawed at her thoughts, pulling her away from the connection igniting between her and Daniel. "What? Sabotage?" she asked, her voice rising, drawing attention from other passengers around them. "Yes, someone's trying to undermine what we've built. I need you to investigate." Before Anna could finish, a sudden lurch interrupted the cabin. The plane jolted violently, causing gasps and screams to ripple through the aisle. Livia's phone slipped from her grip, clattering to the floor, the call dropping into silence. Panic erupted. Oxygen masks fell from above. The flight attendants rushed down the aisle, yelling commands, urging calm in a situation that felt anything but. Livia's breath quickened. She could barely focus. "Stay in your seats!" a flight attendant shouted. But Livia could hardly hear over the noise. All she thought about was survival. "Livia!" Daniel's hand gripped her arm, his eyes wide, full of concern. "It's going to be okay. Just hold on." But her heart raced, not just from fear. The urge to flee gripped her, the thought of the life she had left behind crashing into her like the turbulence around them. Another jolt sent the plane dipping, screams mingling with tears. Is it going to crash?" she gasped, the words like stones in her throat. "I don't know," Daniel replied, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "But we have to stay calm." Then came a deafening crack that pierced through the hum of panic, like thunder overpowering a summer storm. A passenger screamed, and Livia turned to see a figure near the back of the plane, clutching their chest, their face contorted in horror. "Someone help!" a woman cried, urgency bursting forth. The realization crashed over Livia. The chaos, the panic, it wasn't just about the plane. Daniel's grip tightened around her. "Livia, focus on me," he urged, but her thoughts spiraled. She was caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Fear, attraction, exhilaration. "What's happening?" she managed to choke out. And just like that, the lights flickered, plunging the cabin into intermittent darkness. A wave of murmur spread amongst the passengers. Livia felt a sinking weight in her chest. The illusion of safety shattered. Could the sabotage have come from within? Was it true? Could someone aboard be behind it all? Confusion swirled as sirens blared outside. Suddenly, something crashed against the side of the airplane, adding to the cacophony. "Mayday! Mayday!" A voice crackled over the intercom. "Prepare for emergency landing!" The world outside felt like a distant void. Livia turned to Daniel, searching his face for answers. Everything she thought she knew, this moment, this man, this flight, was unraveling fast. "Livia!" he shouted over the chaos. The fear in his voice mirrored her own. But what could they do? How could they even begin to unravel this unraveling? She could feel her heart thrumming, but not just in fear. Something deep within stirred, a question lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for answers that might shatter everything. What if Daniel knew more than he let on? What if the life he presented was just a facade? As the plane jolted again, Livia braced herself, the tremor of uncertainty hitting her like a wave. Just when she thought she understood her world, everything changed. Livia's heart thundered in her chest, uncertainty gripping her as the lights flickered. Daniel's gaze was steady, but she could see the tension in his jaw. The cabin felt like a pressure cooker, warmth melting into a cold dread that chased away every breath. "Livia!" he shouted, desperation clawing his voice. "Stay with me." But how could she focus when panic surged like a tidal wave? The plane jerked again, and a wave of murmurs spiraled among the passengers. Livia grasped Daniel's hand, squeezing tightly. The chaos outside seemed to swallow them whole. Her mind darted, searching for answers, for a way to understand this swirling nightmare. Suddenly, over the cacophony, a chilling voice crackled through the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We are experiencing an emergency." The tension thickened. Livia strained to hear, straining against the chaos. "We are diverting to the nearest airport. Please follow all instructions from the crew." Amid the panic, Livia locked eyes with Daniel. "What does that mean?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Before he could respond, she noticed something strange on the other side of the aisle. A man in a dark coat stood up, his eyes wild, scanning the cabin like a hawk. Her breath hitched in her throat. Something about him felt off. Then, just when the plane shook again, Livia saw it. The man reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, black object. Her stomach dropped. Was it a weapon? The passengers around them grew silent, fear evident on every face. "Get down!" someone screamed. The air was thick with terror. Daniel's grip tightened around her wrist, pulling her down into the seat. "Stay low," he urged. Livia's heart raced faster. She felt the buzz of something bigger looming, a feeling like a shadow creeping closer, tightening around them all. She had to think. She had to, "Please," Daniel murmured, eyes darting between her and the man. "Stay with me." But Livia's mind spun. Who was this man? What did he want? The pieces started to click. Doubts flooding her heart in waves. She thought of Anna's warning about sabotage. Could it be connected? Before she could fathom the answer, the man yelled, "Everybody stay calm. This is a hijacking." A ripple of gasps surged through the cabin. Livia's stomach dropped as darkness settled over her thoughts. People turned to each other, whispers of disbelief sweeping through the crowd. "What are we going to do?" Livia gasped, her voice threading through the frightened murmurs. Daniel's grip didn't loosen. "We can't panic. We need a plan." But Livia was past that. Her pulse raced, and the room spun. In that moment, reality blurred with thought. The plane was just metal, filled with people. Yet she felt an electric charge between her and Daniel. Amidst the terror, a flicker of something else sparked. Was it hope? Would it come down to him standing against this threat? Then the ground beneath them shook again, and the man took a step forward, eyes blazing with madness. "If anyone moves, I'll take this plane down!" It hit Livia with the weight of a leaden heart. All her worries and confusion about Daniel, her life, the merger, it didn't matter now. There in the eye of the storm, all her uncertainties coalesced around one shocking thought. Daniel, who was he really? What if he wasn't just a suave CEO, but a player in something darker than she could imagine? Her mind spiraled. Was everything she felt just a facade? Just as she locked eyes with Daniel again, a sudden jolt rocked the plane, echoing her racing thoughts. The man pulled the black object up closer, the tension coiling tighter, like a snake ready to strike. Livia gasped as realization washed over her. This flight was not just a journey. It was going to become a battleground. The question loomed in her chest, heavy and undeniable. Who among them could be trusted? In that moment, everything shifted. Trust was shattered. The plane, gripped by chaos, now held secrets that threatened to unravel everything she thought she knew. Would she survive this flight, or was she simply part of a larger game? The man's voice sliced through the panic, and Livia felt her heart drop deeper than the sinking plane. "If anyone moves, I'll take this plane down." His gaze swept across the rows, wild and intent, like a predator searching for prey. Daniel's grip around Livia's hand tightened, his expression shifting to a blend of determination and fear. "We need to think. Stay low. Don't provoke him." Livia's mind raced. The lingering warmth of their connection now seemed a distant memory, overshadowed by the terror that enveloped them. The murmurs of anxiety floated around her. She felt every heartbeat, every shallow breath vibrating through the cabin. Then, suddenly, outrageously, the dark figure lifted the small object closer. Her heart raced. Was it really a weapon, just as she feared? But then, clarity struck. It wasn't just a gun, it was a remote. A sinking dread washed over her. "Daniel." She could barely whisper, eyes darting back to the man. "He's planning something!" Before Daniel could respond, a loud crack echoed through the cabin. Another thunderous noise. The plane jolted again, a stark reminder of their precarious situation. The man, caught off guard, stumbled back, losing grip of the remote. It slid across the aisle like a movie scene in slow motion. One heartbeat echoing in the chaos. "No!" the man shouted. In a heart-stopping moment, he lunged for it. But another jolt sent him tumbling. He crashed hard against a seat. And for a split second, confusion hung in the air like smoke. Livia's instincts kicked in. "Now!" she cried. And in an impulsive rush, she threw herself toward the remote. The embodiment of their survival, skidding on her knees to reach it. Daniel followed right behind her. A protective shadow. They both grasped for it. Livia's fingers brushed against a smooth surface first, but just as victory flickered, the man's roar of fury shattered the moment. "Don't touch that!" But they were already wrapped in an ebbing sense of urgency. Livia hoisted herself up, clutching the remote tightly. But as she turned, she faced a tempest of wild eyes among the passengers, each one spilling over with fear and shock. Caught in the turmoil, Livia felt powerful. This remote was their lifeline, their only way to maneuver the situation. But just as she thought it was all slipping away, Daniel blocked the man's path, defiance glowing in his blue eyes. "Stop right there!" Daniel shouted, voice steady, commanding. Then the skies finally split apart with an unexpected sound. Not a roar, but a whimper, muffled and haunting. A girl in the back, no older than 10, clutched her teddy bear, trembling, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I want my mom!" she cried, the raw emotion drawing the attention of everyone in the cabin. In that instant, Livia's heart fractured deeply. The man didn't advance. Uncertainty flickered over his face. He hesitated, the madness in his gaze wavered. But then, beyond comprehension, the remote vibrated in Livia's palm, escalating the tension. Shock wrapped around her tightly, a whisper of a deeper darkness unfurling like a shroud. The remote wasn't just any device. It started beeping, warning lights flickering. Is that a countdown?" Livia's voice was shaky. Her stomach dropped. "Get out! Everyone out!" the man howled, realizing his grip was slipping. "We're running out of time," Livia thought, panic reigniting in her chest. But as the cabin erupted into chaos, some undeniable truth hit her. The remote wasn't what it seemed. "Daniel, do you trust me?" she blurted out. His gaze locked onto hers, confusion battling with clarity. "Yes, but why?" "Because," she hesitated, breath hitching, the room swirling with fright. "Because I think this plane was never meant to leave the ground. It's all a facade." Just then, an explosion rocked the cabin. Not from above, but from within, ripping the very fabric of their reality. A blinding light filled the cabin as Livia braced herself for impact. As the chaos continued around them, one question echoed louder than the rest. Who were they really? Victims? Or pawns in a game so much bigger than they could ever understand? The blinding light filled the cabin, and everything fell into disarray. Livia's heart raced, thoughts spiraling out of control. She clutched the remote tightly, her fingers trembling against its cool surface. Daniel's eyes were wide as he watched the chaos unfold around them. And for a brief moment, they were united in a shared sense of dread. "Get the remote!" Daniel shouted, urging her. But before they could process what was happening, the wild-eyed man lunged forward again. Desperation etched across his face. "Don't you dare touch them!" She knew this was their only way out. Just as she was about to toss it away, the remote began to beep faster, a high-pitched alert rising over the din of the cabin. "It's a countdown!" she yelled, her voice barely audible over the chaos. Daniel became a blur of motion, standing tall, shielding her. "We need to disarm it, now!" he shouted, even as the man struggled to regain control. Livia could feel the maelstrom of emotions surrounding her, the fear of their imminent doom clawing at her throat. Then, without warning, the cabin door burst open. A uniformed figure surged into the aisle, helmet on, holding a weapon steady. "Everyone, get down!" he barked. The contrast of calm authority only heightened the chaos. Livia froze, eyes wide. In the confusion, the wild-eyed man hesitated, caught off guard by the sudden arrival. Daniel's hand shot out, grabbing Livia's. "This is our chance!" He yanked her closer, and they dodged the scrambling mass of terrified passengers. But before they could escape into the aisle, an unexpected sound erupted, a shattering crash from above. The plane trembled violently as an explosion rocked the cabin, and Livia felt the heat surge beside her. Move! Daniel urged, pulling her to her feet as screams erupted. The remote slipped from her fingers, landing with a clatter underneath a seat. No! Livia gasped, realizing in horror that they couldn't leave it behind. Amid the smoke and confusion, the man forced his way past them, eyes darting. "You're not getting away!" His determination had morphed into something darker, more desperate. But as he reached for Livia, the air shifted again, heavy with a palpable fear as the plane rattled. In that moment, something miraculous happened. The man fell to his knees, clutching his chest. His breath came out in ragged gasps as a look of utter shock spread across his face. "No, no, it can't be," he choked out, eyes widening as he crumbled further. Livia's heart raced. What was happening? The uniformed officer had a look of surprise mixed with understanding. He moved closer to the man. "You were never supposed to survive this long. You don't even know the truth, do you?" The words wrapped around Livia like a noose. "What truth?" she whispered, her resolve trembling. With a final shudder, the wild-eyed man collapsed, revealing a small device strapped to his chest. Livia's blood ran cold. It was a bomb. "Get back!" the officer shouted as he dove toward them, instinctively pushing Livia and Daniel away. Before they could react, the device sparked, and a deafening explosion rang out, engulfing the cabin in blinding light. The world disintegrated around them, but through the chaos, Livia caught a glimpse of something extraordinary, a moment suspended in time. As everything went dark, an image flitted through her mind. It was not just chaos and fear. It was a web of connections. The merger, the man, Daniel, none of it was as it seemed. And in that split second, Livia understood. Daniel hadn't just been a chance meeting on a flight. He was entangled in a larger scheme. But whose side was he truly on? The question burned in her mind as the darkness swallowed her whole, leaving behind the terrible remnants of trust shattered. What if everything she believed had been a lie? As silence enveloped her, one truth loomed larger than all the chaos. Why had Daniel smiled at her when their paths first crossed? Livia felt nothing but darkness wrapped around her. Silence enveloped the chaos. Then a small spark ignited within her, pulling her back to the surface, back to reality. When her eyes finally flickered open, a sharp gasp shot through her. "Are we?" Her voice trembled, uncertain. Before she could finish, she felt the airplane lurch beneath her. Heart pounding, she struggled to sit up. The cabin was wrecked. Smoke curled in the air, stinging her eyes. She turned, searching for Daniel. Had he made it? Panic thrashed in her chest until she spotted him, crouched low, scanning the chaos. Relief washed over her. But was it too soon? "Livia!" His voice cut through the fog, urgency lacing every syllable. "You okay?" "I think so," she replied, her throat dry, disoriented. The sounds of whimpering and cries filled her ears, desperation hanging thick in the air. But before more words could escape, the loudspeaker crackled to life. "Mayday! Mayday!" A robotic voice echoed, tinged with panic. "Air traffic control is responding. All available units. We need help." What the hell is happening? Daniel's voice was almost a whisper, eyes wide. The unfamiliar man lay motionless on the floor, his device tangled in wires, smoking slightly. Livia's heart raced as dread crept in. Was this truly over? Were they safe now? Then she noticed something glimmering amid the wreckage. A piece of paper fluttering near the man's hand. Without thinking, she crawled closer, her instincts screaming, "Daniel, look at this!" He joined her, eyes narrowing as she reached for the paper. As her fingers touched it, something strange washed over her. The world felt heavy, every sound muted. With a shaky breath, she unfolded the note. It wasn't just a note. It was a plan. A detailed scheme sketched out in frantic handwriting. Coordinates, timelines, even names. But one name made her blood run cold. Daniel. She was nodding toward the paper, voice shaking. "What does this mean?" He glanced at it, and for a moment his expression faltered. "That can't be. Who is Adrian Chase?" Her voice rose as panic clutched her throat. Daniel stiffened. I don't know." "You don't know? You have to know!" Tears pricked at her eyes. The whole situation, spinning wildly out of control. The note was crumpling in her fingers, each word a devastating blow. "This isn't how it's supposed to go," he murmured, staring down at the document, his face a mask of confusion. The truth hung thick between them, like fog about to clear, revealing something far more sinister. And then everything changed. More loud voices surged from the front of the cabin. Emergency responders flooded in, faces hidden behind masks. Daniel's hands shot out, defensively blocking Livia. "We need to get out. It's not safe." But just as they began to rise, the man's body convulsed violently, sending a shudder through the air. The sudden movement brought life back to him. His eyes snapped open, filled with rage and desperation. "You shouldn't have." Before he could finish, two paramedics rushed forward, attempting to restrain him. "Stop! You're not in control here!" In that heartbeat, Livia felt all their eyes shift back to Daniel, searching for answers. Was he involved in this greater scheme? A pit formed in her stomach, doubt seeped through her. "Daniel!" she whispered, throat tight. "What did you do?" A look of horror crossed his face. "I swear, I didn't!" "No!" the intruder yelled, his voice trembling. "You were meant to be on my side!" The world shifted under Livia's feet. Everything she trusted warped, twisted before her. Daniel's calm exterior cracked, desperation flickering behind his eyes. As the paramedics struggled to restrain the man, Livia took a step back. "What are you really doing here?" she gasped. Daniel's gaze met hers. There was fear, but it was mixed with something else, something deeper. The weight of secrets hung in the air, ready to crush her. "I did it for us, to protect you." But it didn't sit right. Too many questions clawed at her mind. Daniel's actions, his confidence by her side. Another figure rushed in, more urgent, face obscured. "Get down!" the voice shouted again, and time froze. Livia couldn't breathe. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. "Livia, trust me," Daniel pleaded, but doubt gnawed at her heart. What had she truly walked into? What had Daniel been hiding all along? Livia's heart raced, drumming wildly in her chest. The chaos around her shifted like a fierce storm. She was trying to process the man struggling on the floor, the emergency responders rushing in, and Daniel's panicked face as he pleaded for her trust. "Livia!" His voice was sharp, cutting through her confusion. "We need to move. Now!" But she couldn't move. The paper she'd found was pinned in her mind like a blade. "Daniel, who is Adrian Chase? Why does he matter?" Her voice trembled, uncertainty flooding her thoughts. "Livia, please." His expression was pained, desperation flashing across his features. "It's not what it seems." The panic in her chest pulsed as the wild man suddenly screamed, thrashing under the weight of the paramedics. "You don't know who you're messing with." In that instant, Livia saw something flicker in Daniel's eyes, a truth buried deep beneath layers of confidence. Then, as if time slowed, the man managed to wriggle free from the responders, lunging forward like a wild animal. "You're all going to regret this." Livia didn't think. She leaped back, adrenaline kicking in. The plane lurched again, and the cabin erupted into chaos once more. Daniel stepped forward, ready to protect her, but the look on his face told her he was scared too. "Get away from her!" Daniel shouted, eyes locked on the intruder. But instead of retreating, the man yanked something from his pocket, a small device. "This was your plan all along, right?" A bitter laugh escaped the man, and in that moment, the world turned upside down. "No, you don't understand. I was supposed to be the one in control." He pressed the button. Screams erupted around them. Livia shielded her face, heart pounding as chaos enveloped her. When the light faded, everything changed. The white noise of panic fell silent. The seats were empty. Just Livia, Daniel, and the man lay sprawled on the floor, unconscious. "What just happened?" Livia whispered, shaking hands, clutching her hair. The cabin was eerily quiet now, too still for the storm that had just raged. Everything felt wrong. Daniel's expression shifted, a mixture of confusion and realization dawning. The countdown. It was connected to something else. "Something else?" Livia asked, panic rising again. "What do you mean?" He pushed his hair back, strength draining from his shoulders. "I thought I was being hunted, but I wasn't. I was part of it." "What? You were part of what?" Her pulse quickened, fear rippling through her. Then, regrouped in the silence, a flicker of recognition passed through Daniel's eyes. "The merger. We were meant to expose it," he murmured. "But Adrian, he was going to frame us both." "But I don't understand." Livia felt dizzy, her mind racing. "You're saying you knew all this?" Daniel looked deeply into her eyes, panic and remorse swirling. "I didn't know for sure, but it's worse than that. It's more personal than you think." Before Livia could process the weight of his words, the cabin door burst open again. A new figure appeared, this time wearing a familiar face, a woman she had never expected to see. "Anna?" Livia's voice shook as she took a step back. "What are you doing here?" But Anna's expression was different. "You have no idea what you've unlocked, do you?" Her smile was sharp, dangerous. "I can explain, but you might not like the truth." The weight of the moment crashed around Livia like a rogue wave, and a single question erupted in her mind. How deep did this betrayal go? Who could she trust when everything shifted like sand beneath her feet? Livia felt a chill creep up her spine as Anna stepped forward, her smile inscrutable. You have no idea what you've unlocked, do you? The air was thick with tension, and Livia's heart raced faster. What do you mean? Everything, Anna said, voice low, but cutting through the silence. This was never just about the company. You were pawns all along. Livia's world tilted. Pawns? What are you talking about? You think Daniel is just some CEO caught in this mess? He's deeper in than you can imagine. The words were laced with venom, pointed at Daniel, who stood frozen beside her. No, that's not true, Livia shouted, defending him instinctively. You don't know what you're saying. But Anna just laughed, a cold, hard sound. Oh, but I do. Daniel isn't who you think he is. The words hung in the air like a storm cloud, and Livia felt her breath hitch. What do you mean? Before Anna could respond, a buzzing sound rippled through the cabin, louder than the chaos preceding it. Livia turned, instincts kicking in as alarm spread through the room. What now? Then the lights flickered. An ominous alarm blared, drowning out any explanation. Get down! Everyone stay calm, a voice barked from outside the cabin, echoing through the renewed panic. Livia's heart thudded in her chest as she crouched low, instinct pushing her forward. Daniel was right beside her. We have to get out of here! He reached for her hand, but not before she glimpsed something flash in his pocket. A familiar glint. The remote! Give it to me, she cried, her voice nearly lost in the chaos. It might still be connected to whatever the plan was. But Daniel hesitated, looking torn. Anna rolled her eyes, exasperated. It's too late for that now. You don't get to make choices when the stakes are this high. Then it happened. A deafening explosion rocked the cabin. Livia's vision blurred momentarily as screams drowned everything else out. She shielded her head instinctively, heart racing. It felt like everything around her was caving in. When the dust settled, she blinked. This wasn't just panic, it was worse. Suddenly, the figures around her began to stir. The paramedics, the wild-eyed man. Everyone was moving, but it was as if they were merged into one flickering image. Then she felt something cold and sharp against her skin. Anna smiled oddly, tilting her head. Didn't you ever wonder why you were chosen for this trip? Livia's lungs tightened. Chosen? What are you talking about? Anna stepped closer, eyes gleaming. You're the key, my dear, the missing piece. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The merger, the chaos, and Daniel. They weren't just coincidences. You, Livia gasped, realizing where this was going. Anna began to laugh, but there was something frantic about it. You were always meant to unravel this, and now. She went to touch the device on her wrist, and it lit up. With a flash, Livia realized the truth, the chilling secret. Anna wasn't just a bystander. She was orchestrating this whole nightmare. An agent, hidden beneath layers of familiarity and trust. No, Daniel shouted. You can't betray us like this. But Anna smirked, eyes wild. Oh, but I already have. You two were just pieces on my board. And now the real game begins. Another explosion erupted. But this time, as Livia looked around, she felt an overwhelming urge to fight back. The connections they shared hurtled forward, blending fear with a flicker of hope. "Let's see if you're as smart as I thought," Anna taunted. Livia's world exploded again with clarity. If Anna was the puppet master, then everything was poised for a dramatic twist. But what if Daniel wasn't just the charming CEO also caught in this storm? And what twisted game had she really walked into? Before Livia could finish the thought, a loud crash echoed from the back of the plane, drawing every eye. The doors flung open, revealing figures cloaked in darkness. Everyone gasped, freezing in place at the very edge of uncertainty. "Stand down!" one of them shouted. The tension soared higher than it ever had. Livia's heart hammered as the realization struck her. No one was merely innocent here. Whatever was blocking the way to safety was standing right before them, poised to change everything once again. And in that moment of stillness, Livia felt a shift deep inside her. Moving forward meant uncovering truths she was unprepared for. What secrets connected them all? What lay on the other side of the chaos? Her heart thudded like a drum, and all she could think was how the game had changed irrevocably, and they were just getting started. Livia's heart thundered in her chest as the chaotic scene unfolded. The cloaked figures loomed, their intent palpable. She glanced at Daniel, who was still frozen, caught in a whirlwind of unresolved truths. "Stand back!" one of the figures shouted, again, piercing through the haze of panic. The tension ratcheted up further, drawing every terrified eye to the front of the cabin. Livia's breath hitched. What was happening next? Then it came. The blaring alarms, lights flashing. An electric pulse shivered through the air. Everything felt out of control, like a massive wave ready to crash. Livia squeezed Daniel's hand tighter, desperately clinging to whatever hope remained. "Listen to me," Anna interrupted, her voice commanding despite the fear swirling around them. "There's something you both need to know." "What could you possibly say that would make any of this make sense?" Livia shouted, voice shaking. Every word felt like it was laced with the weight of betrayal. But Anna stepped closer, her eyes wide and glimmering with purpose. "I know who you really are, Daniel." The cabin fell silent. Every soul seemed to lean in. "What does that mean?" Livia's voice faltered, confusion washing over her. Anna smirked. "You've been playing a role this entire time." The charming CEO, the gentleman whisking Livia away from her fears. All a facade. Daniel's expression shifted, surprise morphing to anger. "What the hell are you talking about?" Just then, the wild-eyed man regained himself, scrambling back to his feet. "You think you can just walk away unscathed? You're in over your head." His eyes darted from one person to the next. Frantic, desperate, Livia felt trapped in a storm of revelations. Each truth felt like a cutting blow. "Daniel, please, tell me it's not true." Then, as if on cue, like a dark cloud pulling a violent thunderstorm, he stepped forward, fists clenched. "I didn't want you to find out this way. I was trying to protect you." Before she could respond, the cloaked figure quickly raised their weapon. "Enough playing games. You're all part of this now." Livia ducked reflexively, and chaos erupted once more. A flash of brilliant light blinded her, and everything went dark again. But before she lost consciousness, she caught a glimpse of something falling. No, a person. When the light returned, Livia jolted upright. Her heart pounded. For a moment, silence enveloped the cabin, and she felt a weight pressing down on her. But then chaos erupted again, screams filling her ears. "Anna?" the wild-eyed man shouted, pointing a trembling finger. You set us up!" Shock spread like wildfire. Whispers ran through the passengers, tiny sparks of realization igniting suspicions about which players were truly in control. But then came a thunderous laugh, ripping through the tension. "You fools! You still don't get it!" Anna's voice echoed, layered with a twisted glee. "I'm not just here to watch. I'm the one pulling the strings!" Livia's breath quickened, panic consuming her. Everything they thought they knew shattered like glass. It wasn't Daniel who was the puppet master. It was Anna all along. Livia felt the ground slip beneath her. What if Daniel had been feeding her lies? What if he was in on Anna's scheme? Amid the confusion, their cloaked figure prepared to strike. But they hadn't counted on the power within the chaos. With a surge of adrenaline, Livia lunged, grabbing the remote from where it had fallen earlier. "Stop!" she yelled, holding it up like a weapon. "I don't know what this does, but I'm not afraid." That moment hung in the air, electric and alive. The tension thickened as everyone's eyes locked on her. But then, in a shocking twist, the remote vibrated violently in Livia's hands. Suddenly, a holographic projection illuminated the cabin. A carousel of images and faces, connections unspooling like a dark tapestry. Your entire lives, intertwined in ways you can't even begin to fathom, Anna whispered, a wicked smile spreading across her lips. In that moment, Livia felt the ground beneath her shatter once again. Everything she thought she knew, every relationship, every secret lay bare on the screen. They weren't just passengers on a flight. They were pawns in a game of power, manipulated by unseen forces. The raw gravity of this realization crashed down on her like a tidal wave. Would they emerge from this chaos with their lives intact? Or was this just the beginning of death? Livia felt her heart pound as the holographic images flickered, revealing everything that had led to this moment. The murmur in the cabin turned into panic. They had all been part of something bigger, something manipulative and dangerous. "Enough of this!" Daniel shouted, trying to break through the chaos. "We need to focus on getting everyone to safety." Anna's eyes narrowed, holding dark secrets that hung over them like a storm cloud. "Don't you see? Every choice you made was part of my plan. You're all expendable." The fury in her voice was both maddening and chilling. The wild-eyed man, still on the floor, struggled to rise again. "You all have no idea what's really at stake." "They'll come for you," he yelled, but the room was too electrified to understand. Time felt frozen. Livia gripped the remote tighter, trying to look brave. "What do we do now?" she shouted over the chaos, catching Daniel's eye. His expression shifted from anger to determination. Before he could answer, the emergency alarms blared louder, and lights began to flicker. "This plane is going down," the authority figure among the cloaked ones barked, causing panic to ripple through the cabin. Livia turned, looking for a way out, but the exit now felt like a mirage, flickering just out of reach. "Daniel, what's really going on?" Livia's voice trembled as she battled feelings of betrayal and confusion. "I'll explain," he urged, but the moment was fragile. With every passing second, the weight of Anna's interference loomed heavier. "Focus!" Anna roared. The room fell silent as her voice echoed off the walls, momentarily freezing fear. "If you want to survive, you need to trust me." "No!" Daniel shouted, stepping in front of Livia protectively. "You've already betrayed us! We need to get out of here!" Tension crackled in the air. Decisions had to be made. Fast. With a sudden surge, "Livia, move toward the front, heart racing! If we can't go through, let's find a way under." She glanced back at Daniel, who was frozen in place. Frantic hands began to stir as she reached for the man's device. "This can stop enough of the chaos," she yelled to Anna. "Help us!" In an unexpected moment, Anna hesitated, eyes flashing. Just then, the cabin rocked again, sending vibrations through the floor. Livia forced herself to move, gathering the strength to confront whatever lay ahead. "Help me!" she shouted to Daniel, who snapped back to life, rushing to her side. But in the midst of it all, Livia felt a pull. Was Daniel truly an ally, or still entangled in Anna's web? Gritting her teeth, she decided that trust would be a gamble. As they worked together on the device, sparks flew, giving rise to anxious murmurs around them. "We need to hurry!" the wild man cried, a raw edge in his voice. Moments later, the device flickered, casting bursts of light that momentarily illuminated the panic-stricken faces of the passengers. The chaos seemed to pause in that shared breath. Just then, the warning lights went out. "What's happening?" Livia gasped, thoughts swirling. Daniel caught her gaze. "If we don't figure this out now, we'll lose everything." Then with a surprising crackle, the device activated, and suddenly a soft hum filled the cabin. "What's happening?" One of the emergency responders shouted. I think it's going to work." Livia's voice trembled with hope. With a deep breath, she pressed a final button. Light engulfed the cabin, and the atmosphere shifted as if a dam had broken. An escape route illuminated before them, a path leading to safety. In a flash, they all surged forward, hope igniting the air. "Go! Go!" Daniel shouted, pulling Livia with him. Together, they rushed through the makeshift exit. Scenes, all inhabiting the tumultuous chaos of their escape, leaving chaos behind them like a shadow. As they stumbled out into clarity, they found themselves in an emergency zone with responders rushing to their aid. Breaths came easier on solid ground. Once safe, Livia turned to Daniel, eyes full of questions. "What now?" "There will be a reckoning," he replied solemnly, voice steady. "We'll get to the bottom of this, together." Finally, a sense of calm washed over her for the first time. The mission was far from over, but they'd fought through the storm and survived. Just then, a thought flickered in her mind. What about Anna? His face darkened. We can't trust anyone yet, not fully. A lingering shiver passed between them, intertwining hope and uncertainty. What lay ahead? In that electric moment, everything opened up. New challenges awaited, and a newfound strength fused between them. And as the light began to fade in the distance, Livia felt a spark igniting within. They weren't just survivors now. They were hunters of their own fate. A boundless journey unfolding into the unknown. But you, dear reader, can't wait to see what happens next. You must subscribe now. Hit that red button so you won't miss exclusive stories that are coming your way. Press the like button now to feed the algorithm and support the channel. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this shocking ending. Don't hold back. Share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to be part of this wild ride. This is the time to show your support, so don't wait 1 second longer.